pandas. Joining you, a little bit larger than I was probably last week. I probably should watch the eating. I did have chili yesterday and feel kind of bloated.
It's that damn COVID eating.
I've tried to stay off of. I just wanted something quick. We went out there and watched the Doctor Strange in the
In the
multiverse of
multiverse
madness.
thing?
The
How was
madness.
that?
It's fun.
Okay.
It's not the best Marvel movie, but it's way better than the like the. It's one of the better of the newer ones after Infinity War because I have
You've set
the
the bar
I
very low for me.
well I have the I think everyone does. I think everyone has the Infinity War Endgame
Yeah.
as like the peak of it, and then what's come after like Black Widow, Eternals.
To be fair,
So
I like Black Widow. I don't know if it's a watch again movie, but we watched it in the theater and generally thought it was pretty fun.
yeah, so like some of that stuff is pretty good, but like the Spider-Man, the especially the last Spider-Man, which was absolutely fun. Doctor
Oh,
Strange
that
is
was
not as
good.
Doctor Strange is not as good as that Spider-Man, but it's still a pretty decent one. So if you liked WandaVision, you'll probably like this one. So
WandaVision was really good when I watched it. When I went back and I started thinking about it and realized that she was kind of a jerk.
oh
It
yeah
Oh yeah, trapping everybody. Yeah.
yeah.
well
Yeah.
she ups the jerk mode in the movie. But anyway, joining me tonight, don't square up on him, or he just might leave the range. It's Robert Wyatt.
I've had all I could stand and I can't stand anymore.
And replacing Steve and Kenny this week because they decided not to, and joining us on super short notice, and we're happy to do it. His podcast rhymes with Tranny's walk. It's Alex Mannsfield.
Hey.
I couldn't come up with a good rhyme for shooting, so I just left it with the trannies walk. Yeah, Alex Manfield from Manny Talk Shooting. He's coming in here to join us, so here we are. Here we are to talk about the shooting. And what are we going to talk about? I really haven't done much this week, but I am expecting my slide back this week.
Did you got shipping notice or notification?
I didn't get a shipping notice, but I talked to him on Monday of this week, and he said that it was in finishing.
Oh,
so
right
it needs
on.
to be finished. They need to tap in the sights, and then they tap in the sights, and then they ship it. So hopefully I will be able to shoot Slipsa with it, get it zeroed, shoot Slipsa with it on Saturday. So in preparation to this, so here's my Mach 1 speed belt, and you can see there's two holsters on it. Mainly because this is my Glock holster right here with my Proctor mount, which I like, but I have a Proctor mount that'll fit this precision holsters. So I just kind of wanted to, in case it was here, I didn't want to take apart the belt. So this can just snap on, snap off. So anyway, I just took this and slid that over and put it on. But anyway, so I was just like, well, let me just do some straight draws just out of the standard belt high ride holster. So no drop, no offset. Like if you just slapped a Blade Tech tech lock on it and held it, that's where it would hold. Nice and high and all that jazz like we used to shoot in IDPA and all that stuff. And I found out something that was kind of interesting. I didn't miss my grip almost at all, and I drew 5/10 faster on this belt, on the standard holster instead of the dropped and offset. And so I'm kind of like I'm just gonna roll it the way it is. So the precision holster with the dots hanger just the way it comes out of there. And I kind of figured it out in that my arms, I'm standing up, but my arms are so freaking long, so like I can touch my knees just from a stand-up position.
You really do have birthing hips.
Yeah. So the birthing hips going sideways. But yeah, my arms are so long, but what I kind of figured out was that with this holster, and when it's placed there, is that when my arms, when my arms come back and drive forward, they almost draw up at a 45-degree angle better than, let's say it was down and offset. And so I end up with a much higher, tighter grip on the gun. And so just physically speaking for my arm length and anatomy there, tends to work out the best. And so I'm very happy sitting there with it. So I'm excited about getting my slide back and all that jazz. So, but
that's not bad.
That's all I've done.
in
Well,
2 weeks.
well, I don't even know what we talked about last week. I mean,
We didn't do a show last week.
we didn't do a show last week. But I like made some ammo and stuff like that. But generally, I'm taking a break till this thing comes in, and my suppressor with the E forms times my suppressor should be here any week now. Yeah, when they're running 2 months and I'm at 2 months right now, I'm waiting for them to call me up and say, "Hey, your suppressor's here," and then that's going to be even better times. And since Robert's going to have some stuff to talk about and venting, we're going to let Manny go first. Manny, what have you done? What have you been up to?
What have I been doing in shooting? Oh, let's see. We've spent a couple days on the range. We've been getting ready for our section match. So we've been setting up at the range like twice a week now. So other than that, getting the range all set up. We shot a match earlier this month. What was it, 2 weeks now? I can't. Does it seem like days are running together for you guys too, or is it just?
Yep.
May's burning itself through pretty quick.
Just the past 20 years. That's it.
Oh, fair enough. We shot a match earlier this month, and it was okay. The weather was nice though, and everyone had fun, so I can't complain. Shooting wasn't too bad.
And you're a Michigander?
Yeah, we don't get to shoot until like April this year. We shot in April, which is weird because we usually don't start till May due to the weather.
So
do you guys really not? You guys really don't? I mean, you just shut down during winter?
Yeah, it's very rare to see a November match here.
Oh wow!
Because of snow, and no one likes to get cold.
So is it? So does it snow so much that it's like 2 feet out there on the range because you can't do anything, or is it's too cold so no one wants to go set up and shoot?
I think it's probably a mixture of the both, but it is more fact gets cold and really windy than dump snow. But then like December time is when it starts dumping snow.
Yeah, because we'll generally participate, and some of it will be on ice. And I remember times going out there to the farm and literally standing on, 8-9 inches of snow, dropping target stands, then marching through those. So, I mean, we have like New Year's Day Steel Challenge is kind of one of those things that pops up. So,
yeah, but that's the weird thing. I mean, like in the early days of your shooting, you're like so excited to go out and shoot that you'll go do stupid stuff like that. But after you've been doing it for what am I at now? Almost coming up on 9 years. I'm like, if the weather's not sunny and perfect, I'm like, Xbox with the kids sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I've grown to be immune to such things as some of the weather sometimes. Most of the time.
Yeah, you're in it so much. So
at that time of the year when I'm already outside all the time, it's just like I want to do something else, especially, and so those January, December matches become a big deal. So, for sure. Robert,
well,
what do you want to start with? Let's start with the good stuff, and then we'll start with the not happy stuff.
Gather around, kids. Holy jeez, Manny, is your room that echoey?
No, is it echoing?
Oh yeah,
we can just hear everything that you're doing.
Oh well, maybe my chair's loud.
Oh, that's just funny. I mean, you never hear it in the show, so it's got good rejection. Anyway, well, let's see. So we had the new shooter match, and that went pretty well. We had 6 people showed up, and then a couple of them showed up to at least they had signed up for the slips and match. I didn't really see any of them shoot. That's what we call foreshadowing. And but they did sign up for this coming week's indoor match, so it'll be good to have them come out to that. And then Friday, we have the slips and match on Saturday. So Friday, I actually went out and I volunteered to set up a stage, which I know I shouldn't have done, but the stage was already built. So I was like, I'm just going to throw up targets. Should be pretty straightforward. And so I go out there and I went and I put up new targets, changed some things around, and I put 4 pieces of steel. I changed out a little bit. I put 4 pieces of steel and kind of like tucked them around some barrels so that you'd have to get a little bit of a lean going.
But not like crazy. Like you get 2-handed firing position on the targets.
That's a really good question. As a matter of fact, I happen to have I had my 300 blackout rifle because I was doing some chrono. I wanted to chrono something, so I had that with me, and I had obviously my pistol because I wanted to chrono my existing loads. And so I was like, well, since I got it here, so I just pulled it out. And while I was setting it up, I placed the barrels, and I came in there, and I basically I leaned around it with the rifle, leaned around with the pistol, and I did this right-handed and left-handed.
Yep.
So that both, because to be fair, and it was a lean. There's no doubt about it. It was going to be a lean, but if you hit your spot, it was very doable. So much so that you could actually hit 3 pieces of steel from one side, which is great as a right.
2 on one side, 2 on the other side, but enough of a lean that you could go, let's say if you're on the right side, you could go the 2 on the right side and the rightmost on the left side, you could also engage and put it down.
You could have gotten from the right-hand side, you could have gotten 3 of the poppers, and on the left side, you could have gotten the remaining one, which is the most visible one.
Yep.
And so it was very doable. But I actually made sure when I built the stage that it could be, and then I was like, cool, this all works. Went through, nailed them down. And then I was like, okay, well, I have some time and I need a chrono. So I went and I have 2 chronos, and because this is me. And so I went and I took my 135 grain loads and I shot them across the chrono, and it comes in about 1,100 feet per second. I'm like, well, that's odd. So I pull out
135 times 1,000. Oops, is my calculator working? Well, you already know what the power factor is, Robert. So
yeah, so it was up there, and I'm like, okay, well, that's just weird. So I grabbed my other chrono because 1,100 for a 135 grain bullet, that's just stupid. And I shoot across that one, and it's 1,100 again. And I'm like, so basically on the high end, I was shooting 154 power factor ammo. And I've been doing that since Georgia State, which was October of last year.
So 1,100, right?
Yeah, 1,100.
1,100. Because if you easy math, right? If you had 1,000 feet per second, that's a 135 power factor.
Mm-hmm.
So you're only off by another 10% in a charge.
Just a skosh, tiny bit. But I mean, fortunately for me, I have a gun that weighs as much as the USS Missouri battleship, and so I never noticed.
Yeah.
But
well, and the other thing, it just might feel fine that way to have the gun sit there and kind of cycle off that. But the one thing that I was kind of looking at, so because I made some 147 grain XTPs, and I used some unique in them, and I got them to shoot about 1,000 feet per second out of a 4-inch barrel, and
that's
so
good moving.
Yeah, that's 147 power factor XTP hollow point coming out of that gun, so that feels pretty spicy.
Absolutely,
it feels pretty good. But that's like you've managed to outdo that, and so when you sit there and look at the load. Well, here's the thing: for us, it's damn near impossible to tell what the actual pressure is of the cartridge. I don't know the formula that would tell me what the pressure is in the cartridge.
Don't you have to have like a proof barrel or something like that to measure? I haven't the foggiest.
Or somehow like a proof load, but I'm not even sure what a power That's the one thing about being competitive shooters is we generally understand ammunition as how strong is it. We're not looking at PSI and we're not looking at foot-pounds of energy. We're looking at power factor. What's the power factor that we're looking at? And so it would be advantageous as a loader to kind of know what the pressures were in those, because the open guys could sure need help with that. That would be pretty awesome for them and some of the PCC guys to understand what the pressure is on some of those guns.
Well, that was the funny thing. I mean, who is a Supervel and Infinity? They're like, yeah, we should lower power factor or major power factor to 150, and all of a sudden, I'm like, yeah, I'm totally on board with that now.
I'm on the 140 train easy.
I want my major scoring, damn it.
Well, that's good. So these were 135 gallons, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And what were we using for powder?
I don't remember. Oh no, this was Prima V.
Prima V. Okay.
Prima V.
And so you haven't had any accuracy problems. Your stuff's grouping fine, so that's a pretty. That's a good statement.
It was damn good accuracy. The barrel, it was clean out of the barrel. The Prima V, it's single base, so it doesn't have those pressure spikes you get with a lot of the double base stuff. So that was good, and it's totally on me because I I basically I set a press and then I never change it. I
Correct.
just don't. I mean, I've got enough of these presses in the back that I just dedicate one and I just leave it and I never change it. But the problem is, somewhere along the way, I must have bumped it or something like that, and it walked enough that it made the change. And so it's
Or you just basically did the same thing everyone does. That should make power factor. Does it group? It groups. Who cares what it is? And it's like
there's a
that.
lot of truth to
Well,
that.
that's mine. It's just like I sat there and I make a bunch of these things, and it's like, well, 4.2 grains of tight group on a 124 grain bullet. It's a plated bullet, so I'm gonna bump it up by 2/10. Go shoot that. What's that? 141 power factor coming out of the gun. So like I can sit there and play around and drop down lower. That's fine. But then you have on the other end too, where people's like 3.6 grains on a 124 tight group, whatever, and then they go shoot a match and they're like 126, 124, and like that's happened to a lot of people too by just not going out there and
Oh
actually
yeah,
chronoing it.
and
And
that's the
so
thing. I mean, like I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, the gun is accurate. It will always pass chrono no matter where I go in the country.
it'll put
So
poppers down.
why would I ever change anything? And with that attitude, I just kept motoring forward, and I never actually went back and did like the 10th row test. And since I didn't actually notice any like oh man, there's a big difference here, I just kept shooting it. And
Yep.
so, well, I'm gonna drop it down. I already did. I dropped it down a little bit, and we'll kind of just see how that goes. If it, I think it's silly to be shooting that hot of ammo for a 135 grain bullet. Honestly, the sweet spot is 1,000 feet per second. If you're doing 1,000 feet per second, that's a damn fine place to be.
Yep, for
And
sure.
so that was fun. So I came home, woke up early on Saturday. I know it's late for you because you have such a long drive, but I mean, I woke up at 6:30, so that was early for me.
Yeah.
And got out to the range, and I go through, and I'm stapling up all my targets. And so I actually had signed up for 2 stages because it was easy just to go and set the targets for those. So I got the first one done, and I'm just wrapping up the last one. This is the one with all the steel on it. And the range master comes over, and he does this. He walks through all the stages, makes sure that everything's legal. And he said, and he's like, he's looking at this position, and he's like, "You're gonna move this barrel, aren't you?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, you need to." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because a right-handed PCC shooter can't shoot from the left side of the barricade, because they can't see the steel." I'm like, "Well, they can change shoulders. You can't force them to change shoulders." I'm like, I don't need to force them to just change shoulders because they can shoot it from the other side." No, you can't do that. They can't see it from the other side. I'm like, well, they can see all the steel from both sides. And so remember, I told you that, there's a lean here. So he goes and he stands up in the most Frankenstein fashion, and he like, "Look, you can't see around this." And I'm like, "Uh-huh." And he's like, "Move the barrels." And I said, "I'm not moving the barrels. Move the barrels or I'm throwing the stage out." And that's when, if you know me, because I'm a very gentle person, I'm kind and I'm loving.
But you also have a slight defiance disorder.
My mother has mentioned, and she may have been correct, that I do have a tiny, ever so insignificant, it hardly ever comes up, oppositional defiance disorder. And I said, "Fine, throw the stage out." And then he got pissed. Well, I was pissed, and he walked off. And I proceeded to keep doing my thing. Meanwhile, he goes over to the match director and tells him that he needs to come look at the stage. And I happen to see match director a little bit after that, and I walked over to him, I'm like, "Look, Dan, my ego's up on this one, and if he asks me to do anything, I ain't doing shit. But if you ask me to move it, I'll move it for you." And he's like, "All right, I'll go look at it." And so we get close to the day. We get close to the start of the match, and he goes over and he looks at it, and he's like, Can you move the barrels?" I'm like, "I don't want to move the barrels. It can be seen there." And he's like, I looked at it and, I just got in that accident. It would be really hard for even me to make this lean. And I was just like, fuck. And I fine. And so in the not most nice way possible, Dan goes walking back. I yell, I need a barrel. And Dan goes walking back to get another barrel. At which point I go and I grab these two double stack barrels and I rip the sucker out of the ground and I chuck it across the range. I did that to the next one, chuck it across the range. I grabbed the 4 pieces of steel, chuck them across the range. And I took the 2 pieces of steel that was going to be on both sides, and I stuck them right in the middle of the freaking viewing port. So you didn't have to lean. You didn't have to do a dang thing. You just walk up there and you can just shoot.
I didn't hear the throwing the barrels part of the story earlier, and I did not hear the readjustment of the exclamation point of putting all 4 pieces of steel right on top of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, okay.
And so at that point, I was reasonably upset. And I was like, I don't need this. And so I finished staking the steel in, and I went over and I said hello to a friend, and then I got in the car and I went home.
So paid your match fee, set up the stage, and then left.
Oh yes.
Can I play devil's?
I also paid my match fee for not only this match, but I also paid it for the Black Rifle match.
Okay.
Just so that I could have the BOCs. Tell me what to do.
Which you set up and match directed for anyway. Devil's advocate here. You did tell the match director that you would respect his call.
I did.
Technically, you did.
I did, and I moved it.
So
I was still slightly challenged.
So non-RO Tom Nelson here.
Mm-hmm.
So, would there be a rule that would where the range master or the match director could stand on saying that those are too hard to shoot?
Yeah, he could if I don't remember the exact number, but they could make the claim or the statement that the stage has to be equal so that all comers can shoot it, right? You can't go and set a port at 6 feet in the air so that only tall people could shoot it. That's not equitable to all comers.
Yeah.
However, the counter argument to that claim would be that I actually had a PCC and a pistol, and I set those barrels in accordance so that a right-handed and a left-handed shooter could shoot them with both firearms and still actually make it. What it came down to was the person in question. They didn't want to have to do anything that would require some level of athleticism.
So this is what I would say. Next time, can you just go grab a box, like a shooting box, like a shooting area box, and just throw it 6 feet to the side, and then they can go there, stand there, and shoot all 4?
That's a great question. And my response to that would be, there will be no more next time. Because I will never.
No more volunteering?
I will never volunteer to set a stage for that club ever again. Unless Steve Terry asks me, because I'll do anything for Steve because he's Steve. But that's neither here nor there. Steve gets whatever he wants because he's Steve. But no, I actually told Dan I will never volunteer for a stage. And my understanding is I'm actually not the only person that's ever stopped volunteering to build stages because of that situation.
Well, do you think it's a flex, or do you think it's a valid criticism?
I think if I'm being completely fair, I think it is a situation where a person has gotten over the hill and they're no longer in the prime of their life, and they don't want to actually do the things that we would be required to do at a major or a national level event.
Well, that can be fair, but there's plenty of people that would sit out there and shoot and they have all sorts of injuries or whatnot, they're just coming to go out there and shoot guns.
That's a great question. That's a great question as well. So the answer to that is we actually have stipulation in the rule that will give people accommodations for if they can't perform an action. We actually have that in the rule. The rule set does actually allow for that. Steve Terry's a perfect example. He can't. If we ever have to go to weak hunt, he can't use one of his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's like, well, just give him the procedural. And this is me, and I'm not giving him a procedural for shit because that's just being a dick.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't get me wrong, Kenny, he would totally give him a procedural because he's his son.
Well,
yes.
If you want to walk off the range, look good while you're doing it, head on over to dominatedefense.com. Use promo code PARA10 and save 10% off your Mach 1 speed belt here.
Hey, you know
very,
what?
Very kind of Alex to use to promote our code on his podcast.
Guest, let's use Manny's code. What is it? Let's see, PARA10.
It is. I love you, Jason, but come on, bro. I need my code.
No,
Jason,
he doesn't.
Don't do it.
He doesn't.
Don't do it. You make them all. You make them all come to the house of Tom.
It's okay. When I bought my first belt, I used your code.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. It's a fantastic product, guys. It's probably the best one out there. And if you would like to send 135 grain bullets out at 1,100 feet per second, know that you can do it with Gallon Bullets. Head on over to gallonbullets.com. Use promo code PUPRO10. Save 10% off your first order. And check out Precision Holsters. My favorite holster, the Fast Holster, PHAST. My favorite thing about this damn holster, one, it's got great tension, but literally there is no holster interaction that actually touches your hand. So like when you grab it, there's nothing on the thumb side, there's nothing on the grip side where you're actually interacting with the holster at all. So you just sit there and lift, because every holster's got something, every attachment's got something where you touch it, you get a little on your index finger, you get a little interference on your thumb side. That Precision Holster Fast Holster, I just love it. And honestly, I sent an
nice
M&P
holster.
I sent the M&P slide to be milled just because I already had the Fast Holster at the house, or else I would have sent the Glock one in, but didn't want to buy another holster because I already had one. Anyways, you got all that stuff there. We also have Telegram. If you guys aren't on Telegram, get with the times. Seriously, it's one of the best communication apps you can have. Video. We're chatting. You'll see me. I'll record a video while I'm at work. Talk to me when I'm at work. Voice recordings. Robert's on there. We're having a good time. The future president of USPSA is a constant member of the chat. So if you're thinking like, what do I do?
You might say that he spams the chat.
It's free. You download it. It uses your phone number, and then all your contacts who are also conspiracy theorists, you'll get to see who's actually cool in your contacts list, and they pop back up. So check it out. Alex is on there. Check it out. Do it. Do all that jazz. Telegram. Then you can ask us for questions. Robert, go.
Let's see. What are your thoughts on the ideal reloading room setback? What do you wish you had in
setback or setup? Because the setback's the Lee Loadmaster. I'll tell you that right now.
Did I say setback?
Yeah, you said setback.
Bloody hell! I've been doing architecture way too much. Reloading room setup. What do you wish you had in room square footage as well as counter space? Should a reloading room be separate from the gun storage / man cave and/or home gym?
I think it should be separated out just because of all the crap you got in there. Like literally, I kind of was resentful about not having my reload setup inside the house. But honestly, with all the heavy metal stuff you're actually putting around, even if you have clean, or let's say you dry tumbled your brass, like that kind of stuff out there, and that stuff. Like I'm very happy.
Don't ever dry tumble. I would dry tumble out in the backyard, so you get a little bit of that wind to kind of.
And honestly, just for your own health, go to Costco. Get the plastic gloves. When you're loading, even with a coated bullets, wear those. It's going to help you out. But they also like wet tumbling. Wet tumbling is such a better. I know it's like a hassle with drying, and especially if you use the steel pins and whatnot like that. But like it's way better. If I had my ideal setup, like it'd probably be like an 8x8 room. But what I would like is to sit there and have shelving, where I had stuff on top of that shelving that was already plugged in. So if I had my tumbler or whatever plugged in, if I had my lights stuff, I had space for my powders and like a lower shelf system for like my bullets, I would be very happy with that kind of setup. I honestly do not like having, some shelves over here for clean brass or whatever in 5-gallon buckets. I generally don't listen, everyone would like to have like Gavin tubes from Ultimate Reloader is kind of set up where he's got everything on there. You're like,
I
oh,
just want his table. All I want the table and that attachment system that he's mailed out.
yeah.
Is that not freaking awesome?
No, his channel is fantastic. And the fact that everyone
okay.
sends them these things, especially like the Frankfurt Arsenal, their new
I watched that.
1050
cool.
is like, that's pretty awesome. But generally, you're not going to be doing that. And honestly, we are the most basic of reloaders in pistol shooting. So like we basically do one type of ammunition and we do a lot of that type. And so pretty simple shelving. Honestly, if I was going there and wood was back down, I would just kind of section myself off. Even if I had like an open space, like a third part of garage, section that part off with some wood shelving on the side, and then your little bench standing. I'm a big stander at reloading. I don't like the sitting down reloading.
Really, why?
Arthritis in my lower back, sitting down kind of bugs me, and then I can kind of like move around a little bit, and then I feel like when I'm actually pulling the lever down, I can like stand back, use more of my body, get closer if I want to, and so it just kind of flows better with my setup. So I could have a high stool, or I could just do that, but I much prefer the standing.
I have always my first reloading space was, it was just at a little table that I clamped the thing onto. I've always sat, so I was just curious. No, for me, so what is your ideal reloading room?
Get as much stuff crammed into the smallest room as possible. That's what Robert's
and then when that doesn't work, you take over the other room. And now the middle room in the house, that's what we call the high explosive room. In a perfect world, Tommy's not that far off. I think that's a pretty good way to go. The problem I have is I've got so much. I have shelves of primers, and so I have all those primers and then primers over here, and then if you go in the other room, I've got an entire shelf just of Prima V, and then I have another shelf of 206. So that's like floor to ceiling stuff because it comes in those stupid 1 pound containers. But the gunpowder alone takes up a ton of space.
Yep.
If you do it the way I do it, if you do it the way like average normal people do it who aren't stupid, it takes up a lot less space. But when you kind of get into that 100 plan, you start having to really look at the world from a standpoint of where am I going to put all this crap?
Yeah.
Primers are pretty easy, but the powder takes up a ton of space.
I would say build your shelves like they are at Sportsman's Warehouse. Maybe it's just 2 levels, but like long, deep. And the other thing that you got to worry is like your bench has to be pretty long, because as you go along with this, especially it's like, oh, I'm going to start reloading rifles. Like then you have to have your case procession. Then you have like your Lee Swager set up there, and all those little stations. Not only just the stations, but the input for the brass and then the output for the brass you've just done your chore on. You need to have the space to go do that. So
yeah, if I had to do all over again, I would easily double the length of my table. And I don't know how he did it, but I would oh yeah, totally do that. But and then the drill press so that I can do those 80%. But I would love to figure out how Gavin Tube actually like built those rail systems, because right now I think the coolest thing that your average reloader has is from Lee, where I don't know if I actually have it, but Lee has these this plate system where it's basically a quick release system, because you put the plate in and you mount it to your table, and then if you want to switch something out, like put your single stage on or your turret, you just unscrew 4 bolts, slide it out, put the other thing there, and then slide this new one back in. You're off to the races. But because right now I've got the 1050, the 650, the Loadmaster, the turret, and then the single stage, and the 3 Lees are basically just sitting off to the side of the table.
Well, the one thing about the Lees is the Lees are something that you can actually take off and put on with something else.
Mm-hmm.
Take off a Dillon with the case feeder on and like the steady mount or whatever they call it, and that thing's 4.5 feet tall. It's not like you just pop that thing off and go put it over there and be like, hey, look.
Yeah.
And then it's not even that stable with the damn case feeder on it, so you're worried about the damn thing falling over.
Yeah, no, for sure. The Dillon is, you set it once and then you don't mess with it.
Yeah. What do you reload on, Alex?
I'm a Dillon 750.
Oh, you bought just right after I bought.
I kind of wish I have an 1100 though now with all the crap money I've spent on a 750 and all the enhancements. I'd much rather just have an 1100.
So the 650 works for me. I think if you get into the rifle stuff, the 1050 really, the 1100, excuse me, doesn't.
The 1100 was the replacement for the 1050 or the next generation?
I think so. The
Oh,
1100.
I got you.
So, yep.
Huh.
Ideal room, Alex.
I wouldn't say you guys aren't far off. I would probably want a bigger room, maybe like 12 by 12 or something like that, because we're always going to expand into more space because you always get more crap. There's never the extra bucket of some random caliber you find when you're picking brass. You're like, well, what the fuck am I going to do with this shit?
Right.
Yeah, it's like moving on. But
You don't have my joy of throwing stuff out. I have no greater pleasure than being like 30-06 brass. See ya. And then it's like, so on my 40, I just give to Kenny Terry. So it's like, here's 2.5 gallons of 40. Go take this stuff. I don't want.
Yeah, Clay Grover gets all my 38 supers. I still have a 40 Smith & Wesson, so I'll keep that. The obscure stuff, if I find somebody who uses it, I'll give the obscure stuff to anybody who uses it. I'm kind of thinking of getting a 10 millimeter, so I've been slowly hanging on to that stuff. Well, I was thinking about it because I didn't realize this, but Lone Wolf Distributors actually so I have that Glock 41, right? And I was thinking because Lone Wolf Distributors has that conversion barrel where you can go from a 45 to
the 10.
To the 10.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I've got everything and all I have to do is just swap out the barrel, then why not?
Yeah. Get the
I'm not going
mags.
to buy it. I'm not going to buy it on my own. I mean, I buy a 10 millimeter. That's just crazy talk.
Yep. Try to chrono those, because if you go too high in the 10, it might be a problem.
Just a skosh. So you're saying that I probably am not going to get 154 power factor?
Oh, you're going to get 154. I'm just saying, don't go very much over what the book's talking about.
Let's see. What are your thoughts about possibly using a SIG P320 for carry optics and SSP, just changing the trigger between carry bases and slides to be in both groups for competition?
Why would you need to change the trigger?
I don't know.
If you're using an aftermarket trigger, then you would probably need to change it to be an SSP. But generally, the trigger shoe on those isn't half bad. I think the P320 is a really good platform, and it's a very versatile platform. My only problem with the P320 system has been, well, two, dropping it on the back end and having it go off. One, the first thing is how often they sat there and they changed it on their customers. So they changed the model so frequently that you are, what are you? What's this? This is a SIG X carry? Is this the Romeo 1 dot or the Pro Cut? Oh, this is the Romeo 1 dot. Hey, guess what? You're excommunicated. We have nothing for you. Don't send it to us. Go away. And so, like, that's the kind of deal. But if SIG is settled down now, I think that's a great idea. Do I think that you need to have such great modifications in it that, besides changing the slide or popping off the dot, I don't think you should be able to have to do that. I know that the Max, you can't do it with the Max because it doesn't have iron sights, so you couldn't do that. And I don't know what the weight. I think Tyrell Kelsey told me the weight comes in exactly like 44 ounces.
Yeah.
With the Max dot. So that's kind of touch and go there, but I think it's a great idea. I would suggest just basically getting one of them that has the irons that do not interact with the plate.
Yeah, I would, if the trigger is different between the two of them, honestly, I would probably say that I kind of worship at the house of Tony Wong when he says at a certain point the trigger doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I would just get whichever one is going to work for both divisions, and I would just run it.
Yeah, just buy a separate slider, pop the optic off, but you don't want to be doing that. If you get a wheeler fat wrench, torque it down, you'll probably be pretty close. The one thing is, in my experience with the 320s, is that trigger return spring and removing the shoe is not hard, but putting the trigger return spring back on is actually kind of an ordeal. it's not as easy to do. So I'm not sure that you would actually want to be doing that. But the one thing is with that 320 is that shoe makes a whole lot of difference. So if you want like you get an Apex kit for an M&P, it's going to have 6 or 7 parts. Those Apex 320s are essentially a shoe, because the way that they set up the geometry of the shoe takes out some of the over travel and then the pre-travel, and then kind of makes the brake a little bit better. But honestly, get used to shooting a stock trigger. It's not going to slow you down, especially in those two sports. And honestly, like with my Glock, like Lone Wolf 3.5 pound connector, that's the trigger work, and that sets at a pace that I can pull the splits exactly on one target to another. It's like the exact perfect timing. I need to have the trigger back by the time that dot settles, and then I'm shooting again. So just go. Alex, you run the Timney, right?
Yep, finally got the Timney to work reliably.
For how long?
Since I modified it still works. But I'll tell you, I cut a slide stop off to ensure it works.
Yeah, that's golly. The Timney's tough. It's tough because
feels good.
I know way too many people that have had him puke in the middle of a major match to be like, oh yeah, I'll totally trust this thing.
Well, from my understanding of it, like if it worked the way a regular Glock trigger would, it probably wouldn't have that many problems. But because it's pre-cocking the striker, am I right there that it's
pre-cocking the striker like an M&P?
Yes.
Really? Yeah.
That's why. Why do you think it feels so good? It's like it's got take up, and the brake is so awesome, and it feels so different because it's pre-cocking the striker on a gun that's not meant to have a pre-cock striker. And
see, I don't know what you guys see with these striker guns. I've got this nice hammer-fired gun, and it's worked since 1911. So
it's worked. I've literally watched you try to extract a round out 2 weeks ago because the extractor sheared completely off.
That wasn't the hammer. That wasn't the hammer. Damn it!
Your extractor went from an L to an I. It did not work anymore.
It was a pass-through design.
Yeah, so I just want to trigger, but the 320 is great, especially with all the aftermarket you got now. Just get one that's pro cut and find a second slide for it. Honestly, my opinion, you just go out there and you buy that Nitron RX. That's the standard P320, standard frame, and then it has the iron sights, get some Dawsons on it, has the plate. And then if you want to upgrade, Wilson Combat, if you want to fat boy up, you go buy the TFX frame and you throw that on there, and I think that's kind of the best way. And like I've seen them online for like $499, because guess what you're going to need your money for? Sig mags.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Good.
Oh, I know. I was just saying, we just bought the wife X Legion carry. That thing is got the weirdest slide, and it's such a boat anchor. God,
right.
But the cool thing is it took an RMR straight onto the slide with using factory RMR screws.
Yeah.
Because it's but there's there's front irons, there's no rear irons, and I don't know why they designed their adjustable sights to be removed from inside the slide.
Yep.
It's
so
so
the iron plate is actually attached from underneath the slide. And so if you bought like a Springer adapter plate, the screws would actually come up from underneath the slide into the Springer adapter plate and then come back down. Now, it kind of seems dumb, but then when you actually think about the new set of optics that are coming out that are basically enclosed emitters, you can't do a top-down screw, so they're using a crossbolt. But SIG, if people did it like SIG, they could literally screw it in from underneath. So you just remove the extractor, and that gives you access to both of them, and then you don't have to worry about screws coming down towards the extractor.
You keep doing this. I mean, I think the British people or the French are going to get a little bit. I'm giving like the 2 fingers up, 2 fingers down, the spell of the 2 fingers, like in Ellen Rings.
But anyway, there's a bunch of there's some stuff to like about that gun. If it's a model that has the irons on the plate, don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm still looking for a 320, so we'll see what happens if I ever get one.
That Max is probably one of the best deals out there.
Realistically, probably. I just need to find out whichever one's the most expensive, and that's typically what I'd buy.
Welcome to the Max.
Well, yeah, I don't know. The AXG Scorpion.
I think that's the one the
Dave
Marksman has been talking about.
Dave likes that one a lot.
Every time I talk to David about that, it's like I want it, but I don't know. I'd rather go shoot open than go get another carry optics gun.
I would like the aluminum frame or whatever, but that kind of setup just seems to be fine. The one thing I did notice about shooting the 320 for a little bit is it feels fine. It's very accurate. Trigger feels great. When you shoot it sight back to back with the Glock, you notice how much more pitchy the gun is. I
You
mean, it
know,
returns back to where it is, but when you shoot it against the Glock, you do notice like how much the Glock is going straight into your hand and how the P320 feels like it's kind of going over your hand, but it all balances out because it all goes forward. It's just a weird
you know what's
sensation.
really funny, and I kind of just actually thought of this is I've been shooting up a bunch of my my carry ammo because I usually try and replace it, and I was shooting it like a month ago, and I was just like, this was out of my PO7, and I'm like, these don't really seem all that snappy. I think I figured out why they don't feel snappy anymore. Get used to that 154
that
power factor
154
ammo.
power, that you should sell that load to Buffalo Bore. See what they do with it.
Let's see. I've been using tight group and a 135 grain bullet, which add about 135-ish power factor, but I'm thinking about changing powders for no real reason, but I wanted to look at option. Is it worth changing if it's working?
I bought 4 more pounds of tight group, and it seems like tight group is actually available. So all the other powders that you would like to change to, I don't think I've seen those on the market a whole lot. It's like Sport Pistol. You could get Sport Pistol. Where
Can you find it?
where would it be, that Sport Pistol load? I think if you got something that's working with tight group, I think you're pretty much squared away for the next 2 years. And that's just on having something consistent, because my guess is you might be able to find a load that you like better, but whether or not you're going to find 16 pounds of powder for that is questionable.
I've not really, well, I've not had a hard time finding like the cheap powders that are used in America. A lot of that import stuff is pretty tough to find. The single base stuff has been, I mean, I know for a fact Prima V is, for all I know, they're out of business because I haven't found that stuff anywhere. I mean, the last time that it came in, I bought everything they had, and so, but is there a reason to change powder? Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Um, tight group, it's a hot and high, it's a hot powder, and so it's very poppy. Another one that's really poppy is Power Pistol. Power Pistols are very accurate, but it's loud. I mean, like noticeably loud. If you shoot my 135 grain bullets, I can actually tell the sound difference between that and like Power Pistol because it's a much quieter report. And so, not entirely sure what's going on there to make that the case, but I do know that the single base stuff, it's a substantially better powder. It's also hard to find, so you kind of have to balance that out. Tight group, if it's working and
If you're
you
not
don't
getting
have any
leading,
negative,
if you're not getting leading and it's
yeah,
accurate, there's not much to it. And honestly, it's like tight group's really good because it can work with heavier coated bullets. Seems to work. It didn't work for me with 115s or 124s, but with 35s,
tight group does
147.
not work. Tight group does not work great for lightweight bullets like 150. Well, it can work. It just doesn't work as well with like 115s and to some extent even 125s. But it works really well with 135s and 147s, 180s. It's snappy. That's the big. That's one of the things I'm not super crazy about with tight group. The pressure makes it a little bit more snappy, whereas there's been other powders that they are a little bit more pushy. And so in terms of the recoil response, you actually see that through the dot movement. At least I do.
Well, it's also depending on the gun you want and like what actually like. Sometimes the guns kind of work good snappy. Like my Glock 17, no weight thrown into it. It might weigh lighter than when it came from the factory, but like
I'm pretty sure mine doesn't.
That snappiness seems to help. I remember Kim talking about this back when like Carry Optics was a provisional division, you know, and he had his Walther or whatever. But he said that he liked the snappier gun because it like the dot left or whatever, but seemed like the dot came right back, you know, because the snappiness of the gun. And so I think it all depends on kind of what you want. If you like the snappiness or the push. Like I like the snappiness. I want that gun to drive back. Like the dot doesn't leave the screen, but I want it to drive back.
Yeah, I've heard the argument made that the heavier the gun, the lighter the bullet. I've never understood the rationale for doing that, but I'm happier with the gun being pushy. I've never liked snappy guns.
Yeah.
Now, can I shoot them just fine? Yeah, it's just personal preference. So I can't say that one's better than the other.
Or you might not know the difference because you're not doing both of them at the same time, and that's how you end up with shooting like 152 power factor ammo.
This is true. This is true. And so,
Alex, snappy, pushy. What do you like in the 17?
Oh, let's see. I don't know what I'm running, about 142, 145 power factor out of that thing. It doesn't bother me at all. Like you said, it tracks and returns really well.
You shooting a light bullet or a heavier bullet?
125 grain.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've added weight since I've started shooting it. I've added weight into the gun with like a thug plug from Glock Store and their pure tungsten guide rod, and it kind of changes how the whole gun feels. It's just a little bit heavier, but it's not like a freaking boat anchor. But it still transitions well, but absorbs a little bit more of the recoil.
Yeah.
I think it's a winning combo.
Did it push down for you? So
Like,
where it's just dipping at the end of the recoil. Like I can't do that. Like I could grab Robert's gun and shoot way worse shooting low than I could shooting my gun, because like I grab one of those like the 320s or whatever and you shoot it, and when the slide returns, it almost wants to sit there and go farther down than when it was at the beginning. So it's like this weird like shoot then lift kind of feeling.
I haven't noticed any of that, but I have had to go to a lighter recoil spring. I've gone to a 15 pound, and it seems to have a perfect return.
Yep.
all right. Last question. Do we need to be carrying 5.7 handguns now that murderers are wearing body armor?
Yeah. So the Buffalo shooter apparently got shot and hit his body armor when he was on his racist murderous rampage. And too bad no one shot and killed that guy when he had his hands up. So here's the deal, and like 5.7 is actually, out of the 5.7 handguns, is actually not very good at soft body armor.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's just better at punching through steel?
It's velocity based. So out of like a PS90 with a 10-inch barrel, or PS90 with a 16-inch barrel, that's very good. You almost have no problem with it. But when you put that thing down in the 5-inch barrels, depending on what load you're using, there doesn't seem to be a lot of penetration. I think Military Arms Channel kind of did this back in the day, where FN's very good about the marketing of using like meant to defeat like level 2 body armor with this round, and but what they're talking about is the submachine gun that it was built off of, and not so much the gun, because it's like you have a 40 grain projectile and it's moving sometimes somewhere around 2,000 feet per second, and sometimes it doesn't have enough to do it. Now, the Russians kind of thought of another way, was like, we'll just make the bullets out of steel and they'll be 70 grains. So you have a 9mm at 70 grains, moving at like 1,500 feet per second, and that punches soft body armor. And I think what's pretty interesting, and of course, armor-piercing ammunition is illegal in the United States. And by armor-piercing, it means armor-piercing ammunition that's coming out of a handgun, because you can't control the rifle stuff. So all that armor-piercing language is talking about a handgun. But you have stuff that's not designed as an armor-piercing that actually is quite effective at punching soft body armor, and that's like the Underwood. So Underwood ammunition, so 9mm Luger plus P, 90 grain Extreme Defender solid monolithic self-defense ammo, 90 grains, coming out at 1475 at the muzzle, with the ballistic coefficient of 0.090. So you watch like videos of people shooting that stuff at soft body armor, they'll take level 2 and level like 3A and lay it on top of itself, and that stuff zips pretty good. I would say like you could carry that, understand, of course, pass-throughs and all that. You'll have to get over that. But that kind of stuff, I would definitely set up a gun, if you're going to carry that, for that ammunition. Because I'm not sure how the point of aim, point of impact will change, but I know it probably will change pretty significantly than 124 at 1,000 feet or a 147 at 900 feet per second. But I think something like that could help. Now, this guy I think he shot people with an M16 with iron sights with a carry handle. I saw some of the stills from it, just absolutely terrible. But he didn't seem like he had a lot of money in it. And so because he didn't have a lot of money, my guess is that he's had some sort of rifle plate bag, one of the cheap Condor ones or something like that, and probably had steel in it. And would you be able to hit through steel? No. I mean, it's very hard to find anything that's going to hit that steel or penetrate some of the cheaper steel unless it's like 55 grain out of like a 16-inch barrel.
Right.
So you like the one thing is with those things like volume of fire. So if like you got the Ruger LCP in your pocket or something that's 10 shots, like get used to volume of fire kind of stuff if somebody's there, because essentially you're going to have to fix them with fire and flank them on your own with your ammunition capacity.
Well,
So
that and fundamentally, you need to learn how to get good with headshots.
headshots, pelvic shots, really any shot on target helps.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's going to give you his elbow. Guess what I'm taking? I'm taking his elbow. Like any point, it's like a boxing match.
Yeah.
Score points if you're not going to get the knockout. So
no, for sure. That guy, geez, he deserves. They should have just killed him.
yeah, I mean,
I honestly, I wish the police would have just killed him and saved everybody hassle, because that dude, he deserves to go to the 7th level of hell.
that's the death penalty, and the like. Hey, I am about as rigorous a defender of people having their rights to counsel and appeals. But man, if there's ever a thing just being like, done deal, thank you, we're done. That's kind of one of those things. But yeah, honestly, there's a lot of good options in 9mm that work. There's no good options for that kind of stuff basically in 380. 10mm, yeah, if you get something with that kind of ballistic coefficient coming out of a 10mm, then you're talking about something. But the trend for us for going to smaller capacity, even though they're like 10, 12, 14 shots, it's like, okay, can they run that kind of plus P ammo, and then can you actually get the accuracy out of them as we want? So it's like,
yeah, and I mean, to be fair, I mean, these things, situations like this, they really suffer from misleading vividness, and the likelihood of them happening is still statistically very, very rare, especially compared to your normal self-defense use situations like that. And sometimes you're just outgunned.
Yep.
And that's what happened here. I mean, that security guard, he was an off-duty or retired officer, and he got shots on target, and it had no effect.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing that with hard body armor is, especially with pistol ammunition, is like you probably won't even feel it. If you're wearing it and got shot, probably there's plenty of videos of people on YouTube with ceramic plates with their friends shooting them. And what's it look like with the transfer of energy from that bullet into the plate? Nothing.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like nothing. Doesn't look like it affected them at all. Caught it fine. No effects whatsoever. So if people are doing that for fun, like there's one where a video of a guy bet the guy that like the 45 would like knock him over if he shot him in the plate. So what's he do? The guy stands there. The guy shoots him in the plate. Nothing happens. So like
Darwin should have intervened on that one.
Yeah, you're going to have to turn him off. Have enough gun to do it. I mean, we're all tempted to have as little gun as possible, but have enough gun to do it.
Yeah. So that was the last question.
All right, awesome. Well, we'd like to thank Manny for hopping on. He talked about as much as Kenny does. So
yay!
Manny Talks Shooting. You can check it out. It's available wherever fine podcasts are sold or brought out for free. You can do that. If you want to learn about him, his latest episode was literally an episode about him. So you can do that. Also, check out the sponsors. Do all that stuff.
Slightly vain.
And Manny, throw out your pimps real quick.
Well.
Pimp out your sponsors real quick.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got Hunter's HD Gold because they're fantastic eyewear. We've got Dominate Defense, who makes the best damn belt in the world. It's just fantastic. We've got Targets USA, who makes the finest steel targetry on the planet. If you ask Steve Anderson himself, he'll say that all the time. Jason's a good dude. He makes good stuff. We've got DivTech Magnets, providing a affordable magnet option for the highest quality. Laugh and Load. If you need some awesome, funny merch, you got to go hit up Laugh and Load. They make some gun-themed T-shirts that'll make you laugh. And then Tim Herron of Tim Herron Shooting, because Tim's an awesome, good dude, and he'll get you all trained up. That's for sure. Am I missing anybody? Oh, and
Go fast.
Don't suck.
Go
Yeah.
fast, don't suck. You're wearing the
Go
hat.
fast,
That
You
guy
got the
in
hat on.
The guy in the hat, Bill, he'll make you great memes. If you don't need anything, he'll make you laugh. But you can go get your match jerseys and your T-shirts, whatever you want. And Bill likes you.
Bill's
If he
good.
doesn't, he'll tell you if he doesn't like you, but he usually likes everybody. So yeah, I think that's everybody. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. I don't have it like tattooed on my arm or something. I probably should at this point, but.
How many episodes you in?
Well, next episode that airs in a couple hours, well, Monday morning. This will come out Sunday night, so that'll be the 50th episode. And
Well
stay
done.
tuned into that one. It's going to be awesome. We've got a big giveaway planned out, so your listeners will find out that you go enter to win a giveaway. So there's about 11 prizes on the table to win. So
If you give stuff away on your podcast, your listeners just become terrible. That's why we give nothing away. Nothing away, and I'll tell you what. We've seen them all come and go. Grandmasters, giveaway shooters, hire sponsors. Guess who's trucking away in the high 300s? Guess who's been podcasting for 14 years? This guy. And what's this guy done? Never given shit away. Also, if you guys, I'm thinking about making a run of T-shirts. If you like a T-shirt and think that would be cool, then hit us up in the Telegram telling us that you like a T-shirt.
Wait. What's on the T-shirt?
Of course, it is the
fool me once.
The PARAcast on the side, and of course the Snake and Mongoose. And we're going to do it on a high quality T-shirt, especially like the same T-shirts Dominate Defense does on theirs, because it's absolutely the best. So I'll roll those out, and it's probably going to be red and black, maroon and black. So check that out. Nice sweater, just sweating T-shirt. Get out there in the hot days. That cool cotton, feeling good about your skin, and let them know that you have no taste in what you listen to.
One last thing, for all you people who shoot USPSA, which I can't imagine anybody who doesn't shoot USPSA even listens to this, unless they like took a wrong term and they thought they're listening to the Ghost Show. But that's neither here nor there. Tomorrow, the election for the USPSA president opens up, and if anything I say means anything in the world to you, go vote.
Mm-hmm.
In the U.S. presidential election and like normal U.S. politics, don't fucking vote. Never vote for those assholes. But this one, actually vote for this. And if you're gonna vote, I think you should vote for the most qualified candidate out there. And I think that candidate, Yemen, should probably be one that like totally represents the values, Yemen, of the entire organization.
He's our dude.
But vote for somebody regardless, no matter who. Just go vote. Let your voice be heard. That's a big deal.
All right. Well, so for Tom Nelson, that's me. I normally don't say that, but we only have 3 people on this call, not 4. But Robert Wyatt and Alex Mannsfield from the Manny Talks Shooting, which rhymes with Tranny Talks. I bid you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on the little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
I want to know how long it's going to take before Manny's show suddenly turns into Tranny Talk Shooting.
Tranny's Walk Shoesrting or something. Who knows?
Oh Lord!
It's a high heels steel challenge only podcast for transvestites and transvestite revolver shooters only interested in steel challenge.
Oh hey. All right. Well, good night, everybody.
You gotta say toot toot.
Oh no, it's whoop whoop, not no toot
whoop
toot.
Whoop toot toot. It's the tugboat. All right.